What's up, guys? It's Jess. I am a PhD candidate in industrial organizational psychology, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about an IO internship experience. So, starting out, I just want to give you all a little bit of background about the company. I'm going to be talking to you guys about what I did, and then I'm also going to be telling you like some key learnings that I got out of that, and just give some tips of advice for when you go through your whole internship experience. Just at a high level, really loved this company. Culture was great. Really appreciated everyone there. But I just want to share that back with you all because some of you guys are probably at that point in your journey, your education journey, where you're looking for internships and you're looking to see like where you can go and what you might dabble into and what you may not. So I just want to give my experience, share that with you guys, and hopefully it can be enlightening for you. So, starting out, a little bit of background about the company. This company was a leadership consulting firm. It was pretty, it's not that big. It was about 40, I think 40 employees total. Really, really nice culture, really nice staff. Just at a high level, I'll tell you, if I keep looking over here, it's because I have some things written right here. But one of the things, the three key things I really loved about working for this organization or this company was the culture. Everybody was very friendly. Everyone was, it was a culture of, what do you want to do? Like, and then checking in and like really kind of laying a blanket over you, like really making sure that you felt comfortable, you was getting the opportunities that you needed, you was getting the exposure that you needed or the exposure that you wanted, and provided you with mentorship. Well, for instance, I had a mentor. She was technically my boss, manager. I don't really know. I mean, it was very flat, so it was kind of hard to tell. She very much gave me feedback and helped guide me throughout my journey there. And speaking of opportunities, I mean, whole lot of exposures to a ton of different projects, but I'll touch on to that. But that's something that I really appreciated. And the other thing I really liked was the feedback. The feedback was very consistent. It was very helpful. It was constructive, and it was very, very helpful because there were some things that you learned to tie back to. I'll just go over what I did, but they really did a good job of tying it back to the work that you're doing and like long-term game, telling you how to go about things and such. So really, really great organization. I'm gonna talk to them to see if I can post this video, well, tag them here because they take interns, I believe 2 at a time. I just left. I don't know that my position's been filled. I literally, I genuinely just don't know. But that pipeline, right? Creating the pipeline and bringing talent towards them because I would suggest this 100% to anybody that come to me and ask me questions about this particular consulting firm. So, I gave you a little bit of background. I could talk a little bit more about what they do. Like they're a consulting firm. They deal with more leadership type of work. So the main bread and butter for them were assessments. So you can think about those personality assessments, those cognitive ability assessments, and also within their assessment whole criteria, they did behavioral, like structural behavioral interviews, and then they also reviewed like resume and all of that. And essentially, what they did was they used this information for selection, promotion, and developmental purposes. And we, as interns, had the opportunity to be a part of that. It was wonderful. So, one of the things that, this is why I liked it so much. This is why it was so wonderful to me. We learned this stuff in grad school. We learned all about the Hogan, we learned about the NEO, we learned about different cognitive ability tests. One of the things that maybe you guys learned, but I don't think I got a good grasp on it, I was exposed to it, but didn't get a good grasp on it, is how to use all those different data points and create a picture and tell a story about how this individual will work or how they lead or anything like that. And that's what we did here. I mean, it was so beautiful. They had, they took information from the behavioral interview, they took information from the personality, they took information from cognitive ability tests, and also from the resume to construct how this person would lead or identify some developmental areas for them or, tie it back to the actual job and see like where there are gaps and where there are not. And so that was just starting out was a little tough, I'm not gonna lie to you, because it's like so many sources of information. Like, how do you collectively use that and create something compelling but from basically what I get is it's a, you got to do it more often and such. But it really is a good experience. I really appreciated getting that because like I said, we learned that, but we don't necessarily do that. So it was really nice to see how that all plays out in real time. That is helping organizations create their leadership success profiles. And I was a part of that project, which was so fun. This organization was trying to identify those core competencies that leaders needed in the future, right? What do we need since we're going this way? This is where we see ourselves in about 5 to 10 years. What do our leaders need to have to be on for everything to be aligned? And I was a part of a team that helped identify what those were. And essentially it was, I wasn't a part of the actual interviewing that they did for the leaders, but I was a part of aggregating that data all together and identifying what those core competencies actually were. And it was really interesting. I mean, this was I can't remember, a beverage company, I believe. And so it was interesting to see like how they're thinking about taste and what they can do with taste and what types of competencies that they need. Like, oh, we need creativity, all this, that, and the third. I mean, it was really nice. So yes, I was a part of a project like that. One of the things that I was a part of was conducting some DEI research. And so this was really, really interesting. For those of you who don't necessarily know my research so much, I do um, diversity, equity, and inclusion related research. And part of what that research was is in the leadership realm. I've done some reviews there, like just, things around that. And then also I've done a lot on colorism in the workplace. And so here, what I had the opportunity to do was look at the data that we had and then look through, see where we're seeing some differences in like leadership expression. And we saw some differences. And it's actually we submitted it for PSYOP, so I'll be presenting that there. But that was really fun. I really loved doing that. It was a lot of fun. Speaking of which, speaking of DE&I, another thing that I had the opportunity to do while I was there, mind you, I was there for 3 months, was develop and facilitate a DEI training for the organization. This one focused on allyship. And that was so fun. That was great experience for me. I literally created it from scratch and, worked, sent it off to people to review and give me some feedback. And then I had the opportunity to present it to um, the whole company and kind of lead and facilitate that training. So that was a lot of fun, but I was really, really nervous. I will be honest with you, very nervous, but it was I got a lot of great feedback on that training. So super happy about that. Another thing that I had the opportunity to do was help create trainings for the consultants and what they were doing. So one of the things we did was leading with your strengths and helping, a lot of times leadership trainings tend to pretty much help with the gaps that people have. But this one really, like, how do you lead and go forward with the strengths that you have? Like, how do you use those and capitalize on those strengths when you're leading and actually helping them in awareness of what those strengths are? It was really nice to be a part of that. I didn't have the opportunity to facilitate it, but like I said, we had the opportunity to create it. We all worked. I was a part of the team that created it, and I was also able to sit through and see it delivered in real time and how they went about that. So that was a lot of fun. Um, and another project that I was a part of was job analysis. I was a part of a project or a part of a team. This was actually the interns, and technically I was a research associate, but also AKA an intern. So just to give you clarification there, but I was a part of a team, and we basically were doing a job analysis on the assessors, right, and really bringing into like, okay, what is it that assessors do here? What does this whole process look like from beginning to end? And like really diving in the nitty gritty. Fortunately, like I said, I was only there for 3 months, so I was a part of the data collection. I was able to guide the team on how to like aggregate that data and make a story out of it and, identify key themes and such. I provided some advice there. It was asked and I provided it because a lot of the work that I've done has, you know, data and analytics, qualitative data is still data. So I have quantitative backgrounds, but I also have qualitative data background. So I was able to give that advice there too. And Yeah, I had honestly, guys, I had a lot of experiences there. A lot of experiences that I could name on my resume, especially being a part of those assessments. Because in those assessments, I wasn't just a part of it, right? I wasn't just observing. I was a part of asking questions. I was actually a part of writing up some of those reports. And I don't want to say it's unfortunate, but at the time where I'm actually learning it and grasping it more, I ended up leaving, right? Because I was only there for 3 months. So as more, you get more in depth of it, you leave afterwards. So that kind of sucked, but it was a really great experience. I mean, I really loved that I even had the opportunity to do that and do all these projects within a 3 month time frame, be a part of all of that. A lot of fun. So a lot of the things that I learned that I'm going to tell you, storytelling, how important storytelling is, and how to tell a compelling story. Like I said, um, I loved how just taking all those data points and telling the story about what this was. I mean, that's essentially what research is. You're collecting all this research and you're telling a story about what's missing and what's not. It was just really nice to do it with the tools that we learned a lot about. The next thing is facilitation, on the spot thinking. I'm kind of collapsing those together because that is something like you get asked questions on the spot, especially during training, that you just think like, oh wow, I never even thought of that question. And it's like you answer it in real time, you genuinely answer it, but sometimes you have to say, I'll circle back to that. It's a great question. What do you think? And then like, well, I have to do some more research and circle back to it. So it was really nice. Also, something I didn't get a chance to, I kind of overlooked with that DEI research that we found, because we did find something compelling in the data that we had. I presented that back to the firm, what we found and such, and it was received pretty well. And I gave an explanation as to why we possibly found this. I mean, essentially, what we found was difference in expression of Black female leaders in comparison to white female leaders. And it was, honestly, guys, I had done some research on this before, and I was just so happy to find it. I was like, yes, like, because it's a lot of this is like conceptual in nature, right? A lot of the arguments is how different expressions of that is somewhat conceptual. There are some empirical, but evidence, but this just added to the empirical evidence that there are differences in expression there. And so I had the opportunity to relay that back to the firm and give my explanation as to why I believe that's happening based on the literature that's already out there. And then, so another thing I learned was enhanced team playing that I have here. It was really nice to work with a lot of this work. I mean, I had my role on the team that I did, but a lot of this work was team efforts, right? We all work together, we all talk. The consultants would say what they're looking for, and we go forward and bring it back, right? So on the assessments, that's a team player type of thing. Even though if it might have been with one other person, we work together to assess how well this candidate was ready for X, Y, and Z. We worked together to look at these leadership success profiles. My role there was part of data aggregation and creating I would say, the categories of what the specific competencies are needed, and based on that data that we had. The DEI research, I was a part of reviewing the literature and then also doing the data analysis on that piece, and also explaining as to why we found that piece, giving it back to the firm. Job analysis, I was a part of pretty much the beginning of it, developing the questions, interview questions, and then going through with the interviews, but I wasn't for a part of it with the data aggregation because I left after that. And then training and facilitation. Yeah, I kind of touched on those a little bit. So yeah, it was really beautiful, guys. It was, I mean, honestly, y'all, that's the best experience I had while I was there. So jumping in, I want to tell you guys what I learned and just some tips for you all when you go into your internship experiences or roles and such. Like, just some tips on what you can do. First thing is meet everyone. Meet everyone you can. That actually was a expectation set on us from the firm, which was actually really good. And I didn't realize how good it was until I did it. I mean, everybody was open there. They all want to meet you. They all want to know who you are. You introduce yourself, you talk to them about who you are, and then you also learn what projects they're working on and jump on some, because with this firm specifically, they were very open to that. Like, oh, I want to know more about that. I want to know more how you do that. Like, and they're very open. They're like, yeah, come help. It's fine. Like, it's cool. Like, they'll even reach out to you. Say they might not have anything going on, but based on that conversation, they'll reach out to you. Which that did happen to me a couple of times where they reached out, like, hey, do you mind helping me with this, or do you want to be a part of this, and X, Y, and Z. Another thing that you can do too is identify a gap and help. So one of the things when I went there, like I said, they have this DEI offsite that they were doing. And I immediately connected with the person in charge of that and just started asking some questions about what they were doing. And, she wanted some help on where to set the direction, where to go with the offsite. And so I was like, well, I'm more than happy to provide a training, right? I mean, I've done this my previous position. I have some background in training. Even in grad school, I had that opportunity to do that a lot. So I was like, I'm more than happy to give that. And it was a very interesting training. Some great dialogue came out of that. Some great self awareness came out of that. So yeah, see where you can add value at, right? But you have to talk to people to do that. Another thing um, I will say I do a good job of this already. But for some, especially people, other grad students that I've talked to, they don't know when to say no or how to say no. Don't overwhelm yourself in these positions, especially if you're already in school. You definitely have to set boundaries. Do not overwhelm yourself. Be okay with saying no. I say no, just so you know. If I feel like I can't handle it or it's too much, I will say no to it and I will pass it. It's not that I don't want to help, it's not that I don't want to do it, but if I can't help, I can't help. So know when to say no. Um, and talk to people around you to help you do that if you don't feel comfortable with that. Like I said, for me, I kind of had the opposite. I would say no to things, and I talked to my manager or my mentor about that. I was like, so I got some stuff thrown at me, but I just don't feel like I can handle it. Like I just don't want to overwhelm myself. I don't like to put a lot of pressure on myself. Not that I don't put pressure on myself, but not when it's overwhelming for me. I don't like getting stressed out like that. So just for yourself, know yourself well enough and talk to people when you need to for help. Another thing is listen and learn. Okay, a lot of these times you're going to get in these internship experiences, right? And for me, like, I like to add value immediately, but I also want to learn from people too. Like, hear people, listen to their experience, listen to their career journey, like genuinely try to get to know them and know how they got to where they are, because you're going to it can be helpful. You don't know when it'll be helpful, but it can definitely be helpful. And the more you listen, the more you're learning. It's like, oh, I'm watching how you're presenting this information. I'm tapping that information in for myself so I can present it the same way maybe next time, right? Or put my own twist on it. But I loved how you said that, right? Or I loved how you're thinking about that. So really listen to people, understand, who they are, and because everybody honestly has some point of value to add to you, right? Even just in real world, if you don't like someone, I don't count people out because of X, Y, and Z. I feel like you can learn everywhere from anyone. You just have to take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And then the next thing is jump on interesting projects. I had the opportunity to jump on some interesting projects, right? Some people will reach out like, yeah, I want to do that. It sounds super fun. I've never done that. Like that leadership success profile. Never done anything like that. But I had the skill set to do it. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. It's it might be harder, in some situations. You have to be mindful of politics. Some people are very protective of their pet project and how they are. But when you come in as an intern, I don't think people have that same. Um, this firm at all did not have that same approach. Like they were very open and helping, but for some organizations out there, they may be like that, and so just be mindful of that. I don't know that, for instance, with an intern, that they'd have that same energy. Um, but just be mindful. Politics sometimes are at play, so fill it out. If you really want to be a part of it, be a part of it, but really fill it out, too, and see where the person is. Like work with them there. But yes, I really had a great experience at this internship. Met some wonderful colleagues, some people that I'm still in contact with, even though I left in November, and I mean it's February, but I still like I made sure to keep that line of connection there because I really had a great time. And like I said, I will be presenting at SciUp with them, um, alongside with the findings that we found. And then I'll also have my own presentation there too. So be on the lookout for that. But yes, you guys, so this wraps up my my IO internship experience and what I did, what I learned, and some tips for you all for as you go through yours. So hopefully it's helpful for you all, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.